Welcome back to another episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. Today we have a very special video because we're going to show you all of the issues and errors and problems that can go into each and every paint job. Don't overthink it, it's just paint. And thanks for joining me on this episode of Paint Society. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian, and on this channel, we really teach you a lot about professional grade information for auto body refinishing, also do-it-yourselfers. Now, what do you do when you have problems? Well, in this video, what I'm gonna show you guys is every little issue that I might run into, I'm gonna let you guys see it. And I think the biggest problem nowadays with social media is we're showing the best possible outcome. Well, what we really don't understand is not everything you see is what it actually is. The camera will make things look 100 times better when they're actually not. So the purpose of this video is really to inspire you, to help the guys in the garage or help the guys that are in the paint booth and really show them that, you know what, the issues that you might be having are the same exact issues I have. And just because I'm on YouTube and I paint doesn't mean I know everything. That's what Paint Society is all about. It's a community where we help each other. So let me talk to you about how we got to this point on this Acura ILX. On this particular car, the fender was completely damaged. It's a used car on our lot. And well, it looks like the previous owner tried to do some sort of repair to make it look better. Well, when we took a look at it, we said, you know what, this actually needs a brand new fender in order for it to look seamless. So we're putting an OEM fender on it. We're doing a complete repair for the future new customer, whoever that might be. Now, whenever replacing panels, you're gonna have to blend the paint into the adjacent panels like the hood and the door. There's no possible way on a pearl white that you're gonna get an exact perfect match, so you must use the art of blending in order to make it look like it's all one color. Now, for me, and what I like to do is I like to take that fender and I like to pre-paint it. And I don't go crazy with the pre-painting. I just get paint on it so that we have paint on the inside of the fender where the hood lines up and inside of the door. That way we can go ahead and paint the fender on the car. I'm always a big fan of painting parts on a car for pearl whites and metallics, things like that nature. They just work out better for me when I do it that way. Other people don't have issues when they do it separately, but that's just the way I like to do it. So when I go to paint a fender, I'll go ahead and I'll seal it, and then I'll base pearl, and I put only one coat of clear. Once that's done, we'll pull the car in and get the car all taken apart from the bumper, get that out, from the headlight, get that off, taking off the old fender, and then when we go to put the new fender on, we're ready for the paint job. Now we can see the new fender we cut in is a little bit whiter, and well, the color is off, and that's to be expected. What this does for me is it tells me what way and what direction I need to go with the color once I have it on the car. And being that's a little bit white, that's something that I can go ahead in my system and I can change it up. I can add a little bit more yellow just to get it to the perfect tone for blending. And that's where we are right here in the booth. We can see that our fender obviously is lighter. That's only because I only put one coat of pearl on it and the base is a little bit off. Now, you might have noticed that I am missing tape here, and that's for a reason. This is a little trick I do. Since we're not blending all the way up in here into the quarter panel, we're going to go ahead and we pre-taped it here, and then we're going to just put one strip of tape. So we'll do our base coat application, and we'll make sure that, you know, before we clear it, how does it look here? Because there's two areas on the car that are going to be butt panels, okay? They're going to be non-blending panels. So this is going to be the A-pillar, and that's going to be way down here. So we want to make sure that those match up, because our bumper over here is going to be blended as well. Now, when you have a bumper like this, what we did is the repair was only in this area. There was those scratches here, but you just can't paint over chips and all that. So I just buzz them down with 320. This one wasn't too bad. I primed a couple areas that had bad nicks, pits and chips that were deep into the plastic. So I'll go ahead and 320 the whole thing, make quick work of it. And then I'm making sure that I'm only 600ing this because I'm gonna seal this whole entire bumper, and then we'll do our base, pearl, and clear coat. This is a quick, easy way. You don't have to go ahead and prime the whole thing, sand it twice. Just sand it once, seal it, and clear it. And that's only if the bumper has minimal pitting like this one. So let's go ahead, let's get this one sealed up real quick. So for my sealer, I'm running the 3M Performance gun. I really like this gun because it's so versatile. So if you guys message me, I'm always suggesting something that will work for primer, base coat, clear coat, just by changing the tip easily. And you don't have to clean it out too much. So basically I'm running a 1.2 here. I don't need to get that sealer on too wet, all right? I just wanna go ahead and get a nice surface for my base coat. So this runs around 20 PSI, and we're just gonna go ahead and get it on very lightly. If you were to put base right over this, you'd have a whole bunch of base coat layers trying to cover all of these black cut throughs. So when I do a bumper cover, I don't worry about burn throughs because if I know I'm gonna seal, it's pretty much cheap insurance that I have a brand new layer of primer that you don't need to sand on the bumper. Now you can't take your primer and just thin it out and make sealer. It actually has to be in the technical data sheets, right? That it has to tell you how to do it. It has to have the additives, there has to be a certain reduction. You can't just do whatever you want. I tell you guys, you don't make the rules. The chemists who make the paint make the rules. And over here, I'll kind of just stop. Since this is a 1.2, it's really not going to put a lot of overspray on my blend area. So I know that my area over here will still match my driver's side fender. And that's it, nothing to it. Just a little sealer, one coat. It will start to flash already. If it looks a little bit light, you can add a little bit. See, it's already flashing here. Flashing is a term for drying in between coats. Put one more here. And that should be good enough. And another reason why I like pre-painting my parts is because now I can skip my sealer because I already sealed it previously and I don't need to mask off my hood and my door. So at this point on the vehicle, we have our paint still mixed up from before, and I need to go into my system and I need to add a little bit of yellow, maybe a little bit of black. I'm talking the drop here and there, and then we'll go ahead and start to spray it on and we'll see what it looks like. So this is where do-it-yourselfers have a disadvantage. I told you in the beginning of the video, we're keeping everything very, very honest, telling you how it is, because basically the paint store is going to sell you prime or standard, the most popular color. And that necessarily doesn't mean it's going to match. So let's say they sold you this and I mixed this up standard, and I mixed it up just the way it should be, and it doesn't match, let's just say. Well, you don't have the same capabilities that a body shop will. Now, of course, you can go back to the shop and you can ask them to maybe help you out. Maybe you can bring a gas cap or something on the car that matches what you're doing, and maybe they can help tint it. But they're not going to sit there all day and tint the color. So this is where we have a little bit more advantage of being professionals, because we can alter the color, and we need those capabilities because we need your cars to match before they leave the shop. So basically, there's two toners in the system that are going to do what I want, and the one is 437, which is a pretty much like an orangey yellow, and the other is in our system 160, which is just a black. And I'm no chemist, and a lot of guys will say you need to do a spray out card before you go spray it on the car, and they're right. But I know this color because we spray them enough that if I add 1 or 2 drops of this toner, maybe one more, it's going to start to do exactly what I want it to do, and I'll be able to pull that color back to the point where it's going to start to be a little bit more darker. We gave this a quick shake, and we can look at the old cap, right, and then the newer one, and it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit yellower. So what we'll do is we'll put a coat on the car and I'll see what it looks like, and if I need to do an adjustments, I can. Here we go with the base coat loaded up into the same as that gun. All I did is clean the head out. And we're gonna spray one coat on her and see what it looks like. And since it's already white, this is gonna cover really easy. Now the way I like to spray is kind of like an X pattern. I never like to come here and stop. I kind of always like to just feather it on smoothly. And we'll stop right there. A lot of guys will just continue to put it on and put it on. And there's something called stacking your coats. And basically, as this flashes, we'll talk to you about stacking your coats. There's two ways to do it. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. So let's say we put this white on here right now, and I'm like, oh, I have a light spot in between the door somewhere. And I put another coat on and another coat on. Well, that's not gonna achieve the proper coverage in that short session of putting the coats on back to back to back within 10 or 20 seconds. If you allow this first coat to just dry, it's gonna create a barrier. So when the next coat goes on, it's gonna sit on top rather than soaking into it like a sponge. So just by allowing this to just flash and walk away for a few moments, you're gonna have a much better job. I think a lot of painters, a lot of issues we have is we're so anxious to get it done. We want the instant result. We want the gratification right away that it looks good. So we wanna see it. But if we just take a step back and relax, all right, and allow the chemicals to do naturally what they need to do, then we're gonna have a much better chance at having an outcome that we want, okay? Now, as that flashes, we can do as many spray out cards as we want. And spray out cards are a great, great idea, and I always am doing them. But I'm gonna be very honest. You are never gonna see how that color truly looks until you get it onto the panel and see how it looks with the curves and over a widespread area. A spray out card is just too small to be able to determine how that color is gonna look. But with the first coat, it's already looking good. It's gonna be super smooth here, and the reason why is because we're using extra slow reducer. We have two different types of reducers. The slow reducer is around 80 degrees, we use it. Extra slow, I use anything over 90 or my metallics or anything that I want super smooth. It might take a little bit longer to dry, but you're gonna get a much better finish, okay? Sometimes slower is actually faster, and that's kind of hard for some guys to really pick up and understand. It's been about a 5-minute wait. I can already tell it's flashed off here. Let's go ahead and put another coat on. All right, so after that first coat on the bumper and a second coat here, it's looking pretty good. Remember, give yourself some time. And I'll tell you, early in my career, the first 2 years, I really struggled a lot. And your first 2 years, I think you learn the most you're ever gonna learn. I can tell you right now, the issues have kind of gone away for the most part, but there's not any issue that I get into that I don't know how it happened. Like if something happens, I know, hey, it's because I was going too fast, or I didn't use the right product, or I pushed the material too much, or I put too many coats on without waiting. I know why, okay? Dirt, dust, all that stuff is going to happen, and inevitable, it's gonna happen. A lot of you guys work so hard on your projects, in your garage, and you do so much and then you go to spray paint and it doesn't look good. And it's very discouraging, and I understand. So I'm telling you, don't get discouraged. All that stuff can be buffed away. In a collision center or a collision industry, we try to get as clean a jobs as possible so we can get them out the door and get on to the next one. So this one, while I was talking, it's flashed. Our bumper cover, let's take a look at it right over here. Our bumper cover is looking pretty good. Now, the reason why we don't put any color here is because this color matches over there. Now, a lot of guys might say, what do you mean this color? it's the same color. Well, it might have the same color code, but no two colors are ever identical. There's way too many variables to have an identical match. Okay, so the art of blending makes it look like it is identical. Over on the hood over here, we're using our body line. Okay, use what the hood gives you, use what the panel gives you in order to make the color work. I'm looking at this color right now. I'm liking the way it looks. I'm really liking the way it looks. So let me put one more coat on here, and then we'll pull off some tape and see how that matches. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm gonna leave it like that. Let's take this off right here. You know, believe it or not, it's really the funniest thing. This could be kinda off, but since we're blending the door and the hood, it will look like it matches outside. Just, it gives that appearance that it matches, you know. Without pearl, I'm telling you, that's gonna be fine. I know right now on camera it might look a little bit weird because this is dull and that's shiny, but as soon as it gets pearl and gloss, I know enough that that's gonna be fine. That's not gonna be a problem. We have our pearl mixed up. We clean out the head again. So a lot of guys at home, what will happen is since the paint store sold them a base and a pearl, and their color's usually too white. It's usually never too dark, but it's usually too light. Then what they'll do is, or what I've done in the past, and it sometimes works, is like you're sitting there trying to get the color darker by adding more pearl. Like, I kid you not, I think one time in my backyard, I must have added like 10 coats of pearl one time. And it actually kind of matched. But the problem with that is it gets very coarse, very dry. It's not the right way to do it. So you always want to tint your base. You don't want to tint your pearl. If the color's off, it's 9 times out of 10, it's with your base. You can see here, it's all blending fine. And we're ready for a pearl coat. We'll lay it in the same fashion. The only difference is I'll come a little bit further because if my base ends here, I want to extend it about 6 inches either way. No one here cared to point out when I didn't tape off my A-pillar. I'm telling you guys, things like this happen. It should be fine. There's no overspray there yet. If it was clear coat, it'd be a different story. So after one coat of pearl, this is what it should look like. It's all starting to blend in nicely. So the dullness of the sanded clear coat and the dullness of the base coat really helps to achieve a good visual aid of how well it's gonna look, okay? So as your paint is flashing, I'm always looking, making sure everything's good. Is my tape all down? Do I have any spots? Do I have any issues anywhere else? You're always preparing yourself. I think we're pretty good. We'll wait a few more minutes on the pearl and we'll add one more coat. You don't need to add that many more when you're blending. When you're doing a butt match, let's say you're painting a new bumper, that's when you really want to use that spray out card to see how many coats of pearl you'll need. What I'll typically do is I'll take the old bumper, I'll cut out a spot and I'll use that as my spray out, because now we can take that bumper and put it back on the car, or at least that piece, and we can really say, hey, this is gonna match, this isn't gonna match, you know? So I'll do that beforehand. But anyways, it's looking pretty good. I hope you guys are hearing me clearly. I went into my settings. I spent a lot of time on my microphone in the shop, the wireless one here, to really cut out the exterior sound of the booth. You can imagine how loud it is in here and how much I've had to shout in past videos. So I'm really hoping that it's delivering the message clearly. I'm able to talk without having to talk over something just by messing with the settings of this particular microphone. So my intent is to give you the clearest videos as possible. Well, enough yapping. We've yapped away our flash time. Let's do one more coat of pearl. Basically, we're ready for clear. We'll do the door, fender, hood, go to our bumper, we'll let it flash for about a good 5 minutes, and then we'll take a look and see if it needs a little bit longer. I'm just gonna show you the first coat so it doesn't get redundant. Second coat's exactly the same, maybe just a little bit slower. And then we'll show you if there's any defects and we'll show you how to fix them. In real time, this is the first coat. It's so hot today that we're just gonna go right into the second coat. After those 2 coats are clear, guys, it looks really good. Now, what is the expectation out of a collision refinish job, right? It's not gonna look 100% flat, like show car quality. It shouldn't. I mean, if you look over here, it's got the orange peel that you would want, and it's kind of like a flat textured orange peel. It shouldn't be bumpy, it shouldn't be rough, all right? But these cars do have a factory finish that is orange peel, all right? If you take a look at that, you can see now there are, there's a piece of dust here, there's a piece of dust there. And what we're gonna do is, once we get this all finished up, or all unmasked, I'm gonna show you how to remove those pieces of trash to make it look, okay, just like the factory, no dust, nothing like that. Our fender came out really, really clean. If we look here, there's a piece of dirt and that. And I'll show you how to remove some of these small defects so I can get this thing all wrapped up. All right, and we got it all back together. It's all looking pretty good. I actually found out that the vehicle is sold, so we're gonna get it prepared for our delivery. Now, there are a few pieces of dirt that we do wanna take care of. As I mentioned to you guys, with any paint job, it's never gonna be perfect. You're gonna get some dirt debris. I actually got a few, like probably 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all scattered in this area. You'll be able to find them. So when I have something like that, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buzz it down with some 2000 in this area. It's not gonna look any different. For the most part, the whole hood is pretty flat anyways, so you won't be able to tell that that area is buffed. And over on the door here, I noticed in the booth, there's a guy right here, there's a guy right here. So for these guys, I'll use my toll cut. If you can kind of maybe see them, If you run your hand over, you can feel them. And before we buzz it down with our 2000 grit, we're using a toll cut with a 1200 piece of sandpaper. And I like this because what it does is it cuts the nib flat. So instead of a nib that is still going to leave a little bit of a hump, this is going to completely flatten it out before. And that's something that 2000 grit cannot do on the DA sander. So I like to go over all of my areas first. I'll knock them down, and then I'll come in with a 3-inch both Bufflex. This is a 2000 grit, and I like it 3-inch because it really takes the working area and it minimizes it, so you're not doing more buffing than you need to. And you know that we all do not like to buff. You know, white is the easiest color to buff, but we want to minimize this because we're not getting paid for this, and we want to make sure it comes out still good at the end. All right, so what we're doing is just going over all our areas with the 3-inch sandpaper, the 2000 grit, and from that point, once we do it for white, we can leave it in 2000. If it was a darker color, like anything other than white, then I would take it up to 3000. If it's something really nice, then 8000 before buff. But this is industry standard right here. We're using the Perfected 3M kit. This is the compound stage with the white pad. You can see we used an 8-inch pad initially, and now this is a 6-inch pad, a little bit more control, and then we followed up with the polish. And after it's all done, man, it came out really good. Now the owner actually saw the car when it had the damaged fender, so they're well aware of any of the repairs that were done on the vehicle. It came out really, really good. That fender, the 8-pillar match, is pretty good. It's not perfect. The only way to get that thing perfect is to blend the whole entire quarter panel, but it looks very acceptable. Guys, I hope you learned something from here. This is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. I'll see you guys on the next one.